let's play a game. All right? On the count of 3, name your favorite dinosaur. Don't even think about it. Just name it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Velociraptor.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup.
This is the Karate in the Garage podcast with Mason Merrill and Weston Toth. Welcome back to another edition of the Karate in the Garage podcast. I'm your host, Mason Merrill, and with me today again is my co-host, Weston Toth. How are you, sir?
What is up, one and all? How you doing?
I'm doing good. We are recording 2 weeks in a row. This is impressive.
Oh man, we should have a party.
Dude, we are back officially. And guess what, guys? This is the mark of season 2 of the Karate in the Garage podcast.
I like seasons of things.
Yeah, we went 15 episodes in the first season. So I'm just, it's a new day, new baby, new life, everything. So let's just call it season 2 and move forward,
Hey man, we got to write books and chapters and books, so let's do it.
Yeah, and we're also doing something that we've never done on the podcast, which we are talking about an RPG, which took us a little bit longer to play too. So usually we're just doing our week-to-week kind of games and things like that, but we have a longer form game to talk about today.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because when we think about like retro games in general, the amount of data they had on cartridges, they just couldn't. It was hard to build an RPG and stories in general to for them to have enough space. We're dealing with megabytes, not gigs of storage now, like with Blu-rays. I mean, it's amazing what you can put on. So normally, like all the other ones, they were realistic. Like a lot of them we've talked about are arcade games that were able to be played at home, but this one was an adventure game RPG. So
yeah, and so this game, we're talking about size-wise. Some of the games we played have been 1 to 2 to even less than that megabytes. And this game was I think it was 15 megabytes. So and for that time period, that was a big file. We think about that I download that in a third of a second. But,
not even.
Yeah, exactly.
milliseconds.
It just instantly appeared on my phone. But anyway, so yeah, this was a pretty big game for the time, and it was a pretty big game in a pretty big point of gaming in my kind of gaming history where it kind of changed everything for me, whoa, this is different,
Yeah, I think it's weird because like I said, I'd never played this game before, which was strange because this is the dawn, I had Super Nintendo. This was like the dawn of me going to Blockbuster and getting every stinking game. And maybe I was so young and I just don't remember it, but this is definitely something new. But in my opinion, this was by far the biggest leap of story and what they were doing at the time since, we started this podcast. This was a big leap.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, this was Squaresoft back in the day. So which is now Square Enix, which everybody knows and loves. And Squaresoft teamed up with Nintendo to make basically a Final Fantasy Nintendo themed, kind of type game.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was playing this, I'd played Final Fantasy 7 with you before. But not ever played it just all alone. But the battle system reminded me. I was like, this is really, really Final Fantasy 7-ish.
Yeah,
it was
cool. The buttons and things like that.
Exactly. If you timed it right, you got double damage, or if you timed it the blocking as well. And that was something that they introduced in Final Fantasy 7, or one of the Final Fantasy games. I'm guessing, right? 7.
Yeah.
I just remember it from 7.
Yeah, I think it was 7 where you could time a block type thing. Because 6 didn't have that. So, but yeah, this game was kind of like a leap. Took a lot of the Final Fantasies to this point were just Japanese games, and they came out in the U.S., but they weren't as well known, kind of thing. It was really big in Japan. So this was kind of like Square Enix saying, let's bring that over to the U.S. and put a fun approach on it with Mario.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm glad they got it. It shows that they got them to do it because up to this point, this wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and so this game turned out to be straight up basically legendary. This game is on those top 100 lists of best games ever type of thing. in those top 10 retro game lists. I've even seen it like number 1, number 2, battling Zelda for the best Super Nintendo game ever. So
I could see it. Like Zelda was, obviously another incredible one for its many reasons, but this one had it all for me.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, so let's just kind of start with it.
Cool.
As far as the game itself, the story, it begins with Mario raiding Bowser's castle to save the princess. And then all of a sudden, this big sword falls from the sky and takes over Bowser's castle, kicking him out, which is this, I guess, this kind of alien group of bad guys called the Smithy Group.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. So anyway, Mario's, can't go back. They take down the bridge to get to the castle, so Mario can't go back. So there, his adventure starts, and he starts heading on his way, and he meets up with a lot of different friends. You see some people we know in the game, and you meet some new people as well.
Yeah. I think this was kind of I like the story just because it starts out basically how you would expect.
Yeah. And
you're thinking that this is just going to be another adventure of Mario just getting the princess back.
Yeah.
From Bowser, like the standard. And I even thought that too, which is hilarious because I wasn't expecting anything different. And then but you realize the enemy is not really Bowser this time.
Nope. That's it. It is
so.
Yep, so the Smithy gang that's never been introduced and actually never been revisited in the Nintendo world or Square Enix, any of their games.
Really?
Yep, no, never been revisited, never been put in Smash Bros, nothing like that.
Man, that's so crazy. I was for sure that it had been in something else and I just missed it or something like that, but
nope. So, as far as the graphics, let's just kind of get into it. How did you feel about the graphics in this game?
I thought they were fine. Like there wasn't anything to completely write home about. This was 96, so
yeah,
there was probably things. Okay, well, here's how I've will probably say this in general is it wasn't the best graphics I've ever seen, but it was fluid and they had like a nice art style to it, and that's like Nintendo in general. Even now, like it's not the absolute most amazing graphics, but they weren't overreaching where it was weird at all. Does it make sense?
No, I definitely agree with that. And it was, like we always say, for the time. But for that time, it was like when Final Fantasy reinvented the wheel with Final Fantasy VII reinvented on PlayStation 7 was like, whoa, that's amazing. For that time, everybody was like, wow, these graphics are amazing compared to other games, like the kind of 2D comics type fighters or things like that. You actually had like a 3D environment to roam around in that wasn't drawn like the Final Fantasies at that time. So it had kind of a 3D aspect to it, which was cool. I thought everything was really fluid. I thought, as far as like understanding what everything was, like I was like, oh yeah, that's that item or that's that house or this, landscape or things like that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, overall, I thought the diversity of the levels as well was really nice.
Yeah,
animations were fluid. Like I don't have anything to like really say wrong, except there was a couple times where it was almost like you were floating in nothing type deal, like where they would have the like the landscape, but there was no backdrop. It's just like straight. It's like if me or you were to code a game for like a really simple game for ourselves just to learn how to do it, where you'd create the world, but you didn't necessarily give it depth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a full world. It's just like, here's the level, but darkness is just behind it, like black or blue or whatever it was, depending on the level. So that wasn't the best, but the diversity of levels and the overarching feel was really good, and the fluidity.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. At some points, it was kind of weird, and like you're trying to jump from here to there, and there was kind of like a little bit of a block there as far as into the kind of gameplay aspect of it. But I thought the graphics were good overall. The sound, it was good. I didn't have any problem with it. It wasn't anything like you to write home about, but it was good as well.
Yeah, I was just fine with it.
Yeah.
So,
how did you feel about like the the kind of like the difference of like the different areas in the world itself, because there was like an underwater level, there was the forest, there was the where you meet Mallow's family, and where you're basically in the clouds at that point, and then there's the castle and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So like that's what I'm saying is like the amount of difference of the levels, it made you feel like, oh, I am in the clouds, or I'm, when you're meeting Mallow's family, or if you're on like the ship.
Yeah.
Or like it definitely felt like it wasn't just reskinned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
No, it felt really good. Like I said, the only qualm with the graphics that I didn't necessarily love was just sometimes when they maybe they didn't have room for it. Like that's a very
connect.
Yeah. they just didn't have enough megabytes to make like to put pixels, but it just got, there's just times that it got black or blue or just straight white where you were just walking through bits of levels. But
yeah,
man, the diversity was good because you had a lot. I'm just looking at like the YouTube video and scrolling back through all the different levels right now, or a playthrough, and there was a good amount of different levels, and especially so for instance, I'm looking at this where you're in the factory at the end, and this one I don't know why, but you're going over like the bridge. Or is it? Yeah, and like the background is like it's moving, almost like you're kind of like flying through space. So I wish they could have done something like that through all the levels, but it had to have been just they did not have literally enough like bytes to go around.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this is at the end. It's it's like it's pretty close to the end, and it's the culmination of everything. So they probably like, oh man, this is going to be epic, and it is. Like it looks a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. So. Yeah, it was. It was overall kind of give you that comic-y Mario World-ish type feel. Mm-hmm. As far as the character building, what did you think about it? Who is kind of your favorite characters, new and old, and as far as that kind of stuff?
Man, I don't know. Why don't you tell me yours, and then let me think about that.
Gino, man. Like, they introduced Gino in this game, and that is one of the most, like, it's funny because he is, like, literally a legend in the Nintendo community. They have been asking for this guy in Super Smash Brothers forever. He's basically a puppet that comes to life by the star power, the people from Star Road, and they give him life. And so he comes... he's trying to find the stars and collect them himself, and then when he meets up with Mario, he's like, oh, this dude's good, let me join them. So he ends up joining your team, and then eventually throughout the story you meet up with Bowser, and he's like, you know what, we're both like, I don't want to be your friend or anything, but we're both fighting for a common goal here, so let's just join forces. And so Bowser ends up joining your team, which was cool. So my team usually through the whole game mostly was either Mallow, Gino, and Mario, or Gino, Bowser, and Mario. Right.
So you know what I was trying to think of? The reason I can't remember that guy's name is because he literally reminds me of the Digimon Puppet Mon. Puppet Mon. Doesn't he look exactly like it?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Okay, because every time I was thinking, I was like, Gino. You mean Puppet Mon? If you would have just said Puppet Mon, I'd be like, oh, Puppet Mon.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah, but anyway, Gino, and then there's Mallow, and Mallow is just kind of annoying to me in the game. He just kind of like cried all the time, and then it would make it rain, and everything.
Yeah,
he is the weather apparently through the game.
Yeah, I didn't have like too much of a connection to. Well, I mean, Gino was honestly, now that you say that, he probably was definitely the best as well. But Mallow, like, I'm just thinking what they did for my team, and Mallow, like, I just literally put him in defense mode and just heal us. Like,
yeah, basically, yeah.
He was a heal bot, sure. But so I really liked him because I always, you gotta.
I thought this game, in its depth and kind of thing, there wasn't too much depth to the gameplay type RPG style stuff. There's obviously the clothes and the rings and things you could change, and you level up, but there's no like real strategy to leveling up. You just kind of go and level up, and then you choose if you want to up your HP or your defense or your attack a little bit, your special attack.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just choose between those every time you level up. one thing that was cool, that was nice playing back through, but like something I really probably wouldn't want in a normal RPG is no matter who you were in your party, all of your characters would level up with you.
You don't like that, or you do?
In a modern day RPG, I kind of don't, just because I want to like put the work in. But playing this game now, I did like it because it made it a lot easier just to get through.
Oh man, that's see, like I kind of feel I understand why you feel that way, but it's like so I know that you've played the new Pokemon game. So the new Pokemon game basically, whoever wins the battle for you gets extra, like the most HP, but everyone gets a little bit, which makes because that's the problem with Pokemon, or like same thing when I played Final Fantasy 10 or whatever, is I'd have one character that was ridiculous, or like one or two that were ridiculously strong, and because like in 10 you could be, I think you had 6 or 7 characters that you could swap in and out type deal, or you had at certain points. And I'd always feel like that one of them was just there but never doing anything, or there was always like one or two that just didn't, like it, they wasn't relevant. So I wish you could have stuck with one like the same team throughout the entire game, and then leveled, like just definitely put the work in for those. But I did want your team to grow together. Like if you found your team that you like, just let them grow as a whole, and then you can't just like immediately like, oh crap, I need this other thing, and swap it out.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, because then you could just like, okay, I'm dedicated to making this team that has like really good AoE and like healing or single target or whatever, and just stick with it rather than just swapping. So you kind of like, hey, I really need HP on this guy because he's going to take a beating, or I really need more like magic power because he does the magic damage or the ability damage, whatever.
Yeah, so, that's true. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we're cool. What did you think about the different weapons in the game with the different characters? Like Mario, he either had a hammer, a shell, or his gloves. Yeah, it would kind of interchange.
I don't think it made a big of a difference. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely like the shell better because you could, like, when you kicked it, if you hit the button at the right time, it was the easiest to get the bonus. The bonus.
Yeah, that's true.
And it just felt like you packed more punch. With Bowser, he had like the chomper that he would throw. That was cool when he had the big one.
Yeah, it's cool. I think like with anything else, is the more like customized like ability or like bigger impact they could have had maybe, but it just didn't feel that different for me, I guess, depending on, like if I found one that was just better, I would just stick with it, not because I necessarily liked it that much more, just because it did more damage,
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas that's something like, just going back to our last episode, that was really cool is if you, like in Kingdom Hearts, when you found a weapon that you liked, you could stick with it and just level it up.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of other games, including this one, is like, okay, what did the most damage, and that's just fine. It didn't really it didn't make an impact enough for me to care, at least personally.
Yeah, you just kind of move along with the weapon changes that you buy.
Exactly.
You just collect the coins, and then you buy the new weapons and the new outfits and things like that. So you just keep up to date basically with the level of the enemies you're battling. Exactly.
So it's just like a progression. Like you just, if you really like one of them, you couldn't just stick with it realistically. Yeah. Versus, like it's not going to grow with you if you just like something more than the other, which is never. I always like being able to do what I want to do and just getting stronger no matter what.
Yep, exactly. So we talked about kind of the graphics, the sound, some of the gameplay. As far as like the battles and the gameplay, like how did you feel like they were pretty fluid, pretty smooth?
Yeah, I thought they were completely fine. I didn't have like a game crash or a glitch moment at all.
No. Yeah, I thought it was good. Some points were harder than others. You had to make sure you saved and things like that. So I did like that. It wasn't just like, here's your candy, eat it. It was just like this is some points of the game were harder than others, and you're kind of moving through it. Made you think a little bit like, how can I beat this guy? Especially like when you're fighting the wedding cake and there's like 3 different parts of that battle. Yeah. So anyway, and then Booster Tower, that was a lot more fun than I remembered it being. You just basically travel up and then you fight the bad guys, and it's funny because you like don't really fight Booster per se, but in Booster himself, I don't know how you felt about it, but he looked just like Wario to me.
Yes. Oh, that was so funny because I was like, oh, it's Wario.
yeah, and I had Wario come to fruition at this point in time, because I don't think he came in until like Nintendo 64, so he may have been the first iteration of Wario.
I don't know, man. Maybe because I was just. Let me look at this.
Yeah.
1985 Wrecking Crew in the style of Spike. Construction foreman. Starting with Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3 on the Game Boy.
Okay, so he was there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there.
So, but basically, I think he just looked like another iteration of Wario.
Oh, no, wait. Like, I literally thought it was, and then I had to go back, like, wait, that's not Wario.
Yeah. And then, so anyway, just like you kind of progress through the story. The underwater level was cool. The sunken ship, you're battling in that, and then you meet Johnny, and he ended up you think he's going to be the bad guy, but he's not, and you end up coming back up, and you fight the Yaredovich, which is the big old guy with the staffs, and then Johnny, the undersea shark, ends up helping you. So that was cool.
Yeah, I think the game progressed like in a nice direction.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
Yep. I liked all the fights and the different kind of like feel to each area, the different kind of bad guys. The only thing where I really think they missed the mark here was I liked the Yoshi part of the game. That you could just spend it. It was kind of like almost a mini game. You would race the Yoshis and give them cookies and things like that. But they missed the mark here by not putting Yoshi on your team.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's like Yoshi's such a big part of the world. They have Yoshi games by themselves. One just came out, Yoshi Story, kind of thing. And they just kind of missed that mark by not doing that. So anyway, so as you progress through the game, you go to Nimbus Land, which is where you find Mallow's parents, and then that takes you to the factory, which is the last world where you end up fighting Smithy. But before that, which is kind of funny, Power Rangers was kind of one of the biggest thing in the world at that time, and they had a play on the Power Rangers called the Axum Rangers, which was those bad guys you fought before Smithy. It was like his henchmen kind of thing. Right. And they were black, red, green, yellow, pink. So it's kind of funny. I'm a big Power Rangers fan, so anyway.
Oh, we know.
Yep. And then you fight Exor, which is the big sword. You beat him, move along, and fight a few different bad guys. And then finally you get to Smithy, and he's kind of like it's always, these Square games, the battle elevates. So you start with the tank, and then you fight Smithy, and then Smithy the second time, which is the harder one, which is he's the head, and you beat his body. And then the game just ends.
Yep, exactly. The Star Rod is back to normal.
Yeah, yep. You fixed it all, and Gino goes home, and everybody's happy. Mario's got the princess, and Bowser leaves, but he's like, "I'm gonna come get her. Don't worry, it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna get that booty. I'm gonna get it."
Don't you?
That's
worry.
what he was saying.
Yeah. So, anyway, so as far as the presentation of this game, how did you feel? Like it was pretty fluid, right? It didn't like have any kind of like hitches. I liked the story itself. I liked how they presented the story. I liked how they laid it out, kind of thing. It flowed well. There wasn't really any boring parts to the game for me.
No.
It was kind of like you just moved along. They didn't sit around and like, grind in this area for 10 years and then you can finally move on. So.
No, there was no like weird like thresholds or whatever. You kind of it moved along at a good place. You did know what to do, which if they could have added like, obviously Square is pretty famous for adding some puzzles in their games.
Yeah.
So like there could have been like, do this or that puzzle wise just to make it a little bit, because you just moved along at a good pace, but it kind of was just like a story RPG. Like it didn't need like much more, so I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, no, it was good. I definitely enjoyed it. There was one boss that was an optional boss, as they always do, that was kind of like the where you
Omega
boss. It was called Culex in Monstro Town. You ended up fighting him. He was like a Final Fantasy villain.
Yeah, he was wicked, dude.
Yeah, he looked crazy. And so I didn't do that. I didn't finish that battle. He was the next strongest boss to Smithy. So
yeah, it's the big boy. He looks like a demon.
yeah, he literally looks like a Final Fantasy summon or something, you know?
Yeah, like a summon. There we go. Like, Mike, is that Bahamut? What?
Yeah, in classic, Square Enix fashion with Kingdom Hearts, they had Sephiroth, just all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Overall, the game itself with lasting appeal, did you are like, I don't know, this game's kind of outdated, but if like you would have played this back then, do you think you would play it again through the years?
So I'm glad I played it this time.
Yeah.
If that's a good answer, is obviously we do a podcast that's surrounded by retro gaming, so we're into this, but I'm glad that it still held up pretty well today, in my opinion, even though it's old. Like the story, design of the game, everything. I think it just held up well.
Yeah, this game has had a lot of lasting appeal to me over the years. There's been kind of like a little bit of controversy because they were working on a sequel to this game and they ended up adapting it to Paper Mario, and that was like the kind of sequel that was totally different from this game. And
I forgot about Paper Mario.
Yeah, so that was kind of the thing. People have always wanted either a remake or like a sequel of this game, which I would be totally down to play a remake of this game.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if it was like a legit remake, I'd definitely play it. Like I said, I think that even like the appeal of playing it when we did, it was nice. Like I wasn't insanely bored by it. I like it flowed well. Okay, I'm back. If there was like a updated version of it, I would 100% play it.
Yeah, definitely. This game would be on the top of my pre-order list if it was. And they've released it on all the systems throughout the years, the ported version kind of thing. So it's definitely lived on, and people still love it to this day. I was reading like a top 100 list, which maybe eventually one of these podcasts we can go over, because it has to do like top 100 greatest games of all time to 2019, and this was like on like in the top 20 or something. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's definitely had some lasting appeal through the years for me. I don't know when I'll circle back to this game, but I've played it on long trips or things like that in the past, and just always enjoyed it every time I played it, and all that. It was just a win. It was just a good, like, it's some of these gaming companies will try something and it'll just fail. The Nintendo and Square Enix tried something and it lived on to be a legend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you think about the time though. Like there were two. Obviously, Nintendo still is, and Square Enix is still a good company too. But like at that time, they were doing things that no one, like, they were by far pushing the envelope before anyone else was. Yep. So this was just part of that like collaboration of two great companies making a game that was just it hadn't been done before, was farther beyond where it should have been. So
yeah, definitely great storyline, great character building, great world, great graphics. Yeah, all of the above. So
yeah,
anyway.
I'm glad. I'm happy that you picked this one, because I would have not picked it just because I don't know, maybe just I haven't remembered it, but it was a good one.
Yeah, and how do you feel about Gino never making the Super Smash Brothers cut?
Oh well, of course Puppet Mon's got to be there, dude.
Yeah, I think they might get it right with Ultimate. There's a lot of crazy rumors going around that he's in the roster at some point. So
I wonder, here's the deal though, as I wonder, well that's not true, because Cloud's in there now too, because there's other Final Fantasy characters in Ultimate that they could do whatever they want to, because I wondered like if they hadn't brought back this world or done anything with it, because since it was like maybe there was some weird licensing issues, because it was a Square product as well in Nintendo, so maybe this was just a one-off. But since they have like Cloud and other ones in Final Fantasy, I bet they could do it nowadays. Yeah. So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there's even rumors about like Sora being in, like the new iteration of Sora being in one of the DLC characters down the line too. So I don't know. I
mean, hey, when you own the world, just got to use everything.
Yep, that's right. So anyway, I'm going to give this game a perfect 10 out of 10 stars.
Ooh, man, going big.
Yeah, we got to rate it with stars, right? Because it was the
Oh,
Legend
yeah,
of the
100%.
Seven Stars. I mean,
Yeah, it's Legend of the Seven. I mean, I got to say 8.5 for me, just because I think that you had a lot more attachment to this game.
Yeah, I agree with
but I think this game was really, really good. It wasn't. Let me say that, and the reason I'm not giving a perfect 10 out of 10, I didn't come home every day being like, man, I can't wait to play this game. But when I played it, I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like I'm walking away thinking about, you know how other games that you'll play, you'll walk away thinking about the story, or you just like can't wait to get back to it because, you know, you're invested or you're just having so much fun. That wasn't this for me, but when I was playing it, I had a great time. So like 8.5. I don't think it was 10 for me, but definitely worth checking out. It's not that long either. Like you can, you know, it's a longer form game, but you can get after it, and you know, like if you do it like an hour every night, or just you know, you can get through it in not too long. So
yeah, you can do it in like 15 hours. I think is what it was for me, and that was
definitely
quick, just playing a few hours at night here and there. So we definitely had all the time to play it and beat it this round, so that was good.
I know. And between you know, delivering your son.
Yeah, dude, I have so many stories to tell you about like how all that went, but we'll save it for another time. The doctor was just so awesome, like the whole thing. But.
Good. Well, obviously you needed a break from your last one. I know that was rough. So
yeah, man. Yep. Anyhow,
good.
So let's put a book on this one, and anything else you've been playing recently, or movies you've seen, or anything you can recommend right now?
Man, no, I have. So the two movies that I have on the books to see in these next 2 weeks is Shazam. I haven't seen that yet. I've heard great things. No, I heard absolute great things about that. And then Avengers Endgame is next week as well. So I'll probably go see Shazam either this weekend or on Tuesday. Yeah. And then I mean, have I told you that my brother has this fear of like public shootings now?
Really? That's funny.
Yeah. So
he won't go to movies with you.
I mean, he just has this thing. No, not movies in general, but like on opening night. You know how like the Dark Knight, someone came in and like shot out the movie theater.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, because I told him, you know, opening night or just opening day, whenever that weekend, I'll buy like, because this was 2 weeks ago when the tickets went on sale. I was like, I'll buy IMAX, you know, and I'll reserve the seats so they're really good. And he's like, hey, I don't want to go opening weekend. I was like, what? Like, and he's just like, yeah, like I'm really scared of like shootings. I was like, okay.
I mean,
okay,
that's a real thing, and I guess I shouldn't laugh at that, but like, all right, bro, whatever.
No, it is a real thing, and I'm not. I was like, okay, we'll just wait till Monday, or I don't know, maybe we'll go on Sunday or something. When I'm gonna see both those things the next week and a half. So,
oh, dude, yeah, we're going Saturday of the weekend it comes out. Me and the wife. Yeah, so we're doing it's 3 hours and like 8-minute runtime, which is insane.
3 hours?
Yeah. Yeah, the movie's 3 hours long. Yeah.
I'm going to need some candy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm scared that my wife's going to be like, I have to go home to the baby like towards the end.
Oh God, please
like,
no.
You can go. I'll walk home. You can come pick me up, whatever.
Some people would say that's cruel, Mason, but it would be cruel of her to ask you that she's got to go home.
Listen, I'm all about if she needs to go home and see her baby, she can do that. But
hey, man, it's going to be there for the next 20 years, so you're good.
Yeah, def. Anyway, so I picked up No Man's Sky recently. They announced it's coming out on the update is going to come out in VR in the summertime, so I'm definitely stoked for that. Been playing a little No Man's Sky, getting into that. That's a game that started out rough. That's kind of took a 180 on, you know, just as far as longevity, and they've really gone the distance to update, and make it better. So I've been enjoying that kind of casually recently. Finally beat all the Spider-Man DLC, which was awesome. That game is just so good. Probably will end up playing that one again if I don't get anything better this year at some point.
Nice. So you do think No Man's Sky is worth picking up, though?
Yeah, I mean, I'm most excited to play it on on
VR.
VR. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
looks like it's going to be so sweet. And just playing it like now, I can imagine how it's going to be in VR. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. You know, this would be so much better if I was playing it in VR. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And all of the people who have reviewed it, who have gotten early copy or early loads of the VR, they've said it's like amazing. It's like the best PlayStation VR game out there.
Dude, that is like one of the very few games that it gets kind of like a crappy review when coming out and then somehow turned it around to be something intensely good. So the two games actually that's happened, and I don't have this other game as well, but it kind of got turned around is... So that game came out, and same thing. It got terrible reviews, and the developers listened to people complaining and it changed their game for the better. Like, when does that actually happen? Most people just put it out, and they're like, you're wrong. Our game's perfect.
Yeah.
That one and Sea of Thieves is the other one that, like,
Really?
it literally had a terrible launch, and there's, like, thousands of people playing that game together now.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky would be something really fun to play together online if we could ever find the time to do it. Like exploring and things like that. So
cool, man. I'm definitely down to get it. I've been looking.
$20. Yeah, it's $20.
Yeah, the thing with me is it's hard for me to console game because my TV's downstairs, but I'm in the market for a new one that I'm going to put in my room and I can play it before I go to bed. So
awesome. Yeah.
Oh, just and
by the way, they've released official remote play support for iPhone and iPad, so you can remote play your PlayStation on your phone and iPad now.
Oh, but it's not fluid enough for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, my house is pretty small, so my internet is like right there, and I've got my PlayStation Pro plugged up to my router, so it's really, really fast and it works good.
I mean, I guess when I did it, it just wasn't as. I think with console gaming, like I want a big screen and it to be like immersive. So when I'm like on a small screen and it's just not as, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again. I'll just try it again. Let me just do that. Let me go back to it because I want it to be a certain experience, and if it's not, then it's hard for me.
I wouldn't play like a game like Kingdom Hearts on it, but I might play some No Man's Sky on it just because it's such a progressive game. I don't feel like I need it to be on a big screen all the time, you know?
But the world is pretty like beautiful, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, you start out on like a distant planet, and then you have to repair your ship, and then you get up in that ship, and you are in the universe, man. You can like you're gone, and you're flying to a different world. It was cool. Like it was kind of like drug at first, and then I was like, once I got that ship going, I was like, oh, here we go. This is it right here, and you're just flying and stuff. I'm like, I cannot wait to play this in VR. This is gonna be so much fun.
Man, I'm kind of psyched to possibly get it too. So maybe as soon as because I'm getting my TV ASAP. I had to pay the old taxes and do everything else, and then I got some extra monies after that. So we'll once I get that, we'll play it together. It'd be nice.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be fun. That'd be awesome. Just kind of like, and that's the thing about this game is like you can kind of choose what speed you want to play it at. If you want to play it with 0 enemies, where you're just traveling and building bases and helping colonies and things like that, like you can do that, or you can play it like on the most heightened level of enemies you can find. And I kind of just chose the entry level enemy part because I don't want too many enemies.
So is there a storyline to it, or is this just like hey, this is the world's your playground, go for it?
Basically, like there's a little bit of a like, oh, somebody's contacted you kind of stuff to figure out in the beginning, but eventually it just turns into that, you know?
Gotcha. I'm down.
And
I
it's
like
fun.
that.
Like in that Beyond update really comes out in this summer. Like they've done a bunch of updates to it, but the big one's coming this summer. So, and it's free. It's free to all people who own the game. They're not even charging for it.
Oh, what a good company.
Yeah, they've done well. They hats off to them for getting it together. Hello Games is the company.
Nice.
Right.
I'm really like that happens so rarely when something comes out, it's rated bad, but then like they change it enough where people are like, wow, this is actually amazing now. You know, that's just unheard of.
Yep. Faux show. So anyway, we have some business to do here as far as the next game we're going to play.
Good question. I think it's time for the gauntlet, dude.
The gauntlet. Oh no, I'm so scared of the gauntlet. Yeah. Anyway, I guess this is what we're gonna do. How do you want to do this? do you want to do like Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, or do you just want to do Super Nintendo, Genesis? Like, what's your kind of thought process?
Oh, yeah, okay. So, I was just thinking about some other games that we had already talked about doing. We never did Link to the Past as well for a long form.
Yeah. I don't
Not
wanna
right
do
now, but
yeah.
we just need to do it like right after this. But I'm just saying, like, we need to do that one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'll download it and start playing it kind of in my off time if you want to just like call that one in like the next 5 episodes or something.
Yeah. Here, actually, there's a couple other ones on. I think it was Darkwing Duck.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Darkwing Duck on
Super
Darkwing
Nintendo.
Duck SNES. Is it S? There's one on NES. I can't remember what this game is. It was like Darkwing Duck, but it had like it was Darkwing Duck, but it had like ninjas. I just remember like I played it a long time ago.
That doesn't sound like the best thing ever. Oh wait.
Let's see, Duck Tales Ninja.
Video game. Let's see. Darkwing Duck was Game Boy. Let's see. Let's just look at it here. And there's an NES game. NES and Game Boy Darkwing Duck game.
Oh, here we go. Heck yes, dude.
I like your enthusiasm.
Mallard, and Gold Shadow, Super Nintendo.
What is this? And
Dude, yes. It's Donald Duck.
Mallard and Gold. Donald and Maui Mallard.
Donald the Ninja.
Oh, dude, I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do this. All right.
Donald the Ninja.
Let's see. This game was released in December 8th of North America in January of 97.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's do this one.
All right. I'm in. Let's do it. Maui Mallard in Gold
Cold
Shadow.
Shadow.
Cold Shadow.
Cold-
Cold Shadow.
Cold
Okay,
Shadow.
Cool. All right. I will find this and I'll send it over.
Yeah,
Awesome,
dude,
man.
I just remember, I don't know why this popped in my brain the other day, but I'm like, oh my goodness, what's this Duck Ninja game that we used to play? I played it one time, and I remember just being in love with it, but it was a rental from Blockbuster, the best kind.
Good times.
And so let's go back to that. I think that's just a weird one, but we don't have to do the Gauntlet. It's kind of like the Gauntlet of my mind, which is, I don't know, scarier or better.
Yeah, no, I was kind of clicking around on the Gauntlet earlier, and I was getting like some not so great games, so it kind of like scared me right now.
Oh god,
I'm like,
good.
this is season 2, man. This is season 2, episode 2. We got to do something good, you know?
Oh man, Donald and Maui Mallard, Cold Shadow.
Dude, I'm in.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
man. Well, that sounds like goodness, and unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I think we'll wrap it here.
Hey, Mario RPG, play it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. If you have never played that game, what are you doing with your life? Like, turn this podcast off and go play it right now, even though
Wait.
it's the end of it. So we
No,
got you. You listened to our whole podcast.
Don't do that. Jokes on us.
Yep. Anyway, this is the end of the podcast, so they've listened to it anyway by now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Boom.
Well, but yeah, Mario RPG, triple thumbs up. But next week is Donald and Maui Mallard, the Cold Shadow.
Yeah, and maybe like we can have a little more time to spend because there's a lot of games that they've announced recently that I kind of want to talk about, like kind of first reactions and things like that. That just since we've been gone and just that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll finish this one up in a good amount of time, and then we can talk about like a little more of just some news and some things that have come before like really E3 kicks into gear this summer.
No, exactly. Yeah, we need to keep the news part going because that's something that we need to stay on top of, and then the listeners can at least have a little a tidbit or a piece of what's going on in gaming in general, not just retro gaming. So we need to continue to make that part of the segment.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
so maybe spend a little bit less time, keep it to 30 minutes or under on the game, and then we'll have some news and what's going on in the life.
Awesome, man. Well, until next time, we'll talk later, man.
All right. I'll see you later.
Peace.
Bye.
If you'd like to send us a message, you can email us at kitgpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at kitgpodcast on Twitter.